Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of IoT Live. I'm once again joined by a rather dark-looking, for some reason now, Cliff Aegis, and we've just been discussing a
The
pixelated Benjamin
pixelated
Carbo.
Benjamin.
I'm not quite sure. It's an 8-bit Benjamin, that's what it is.
Yeah,
If you've been following along, then this is now the fourth in a series of LoRaWAN, Azure Things Network, Azure Digital Twins Blender series of code along type workshop type. See how many lines Benjamin can shout at me across the ether to type shows that we've been doing. It's been really good actually. I've learned a whole heap, so I'm hoping that everybody out there watching has learned. Yeah, exactly. It's been really interesting. And it's prescient as well because Digital Twins, Azure Digital Twins, is definitely a big drive for Microsoft. And certainly, I'm aware that if you're doing the AZ220 exam, then you're going to find some of that creeping its way into the exam as well, obviously. So it's worthwhile going and genning up on that. And it's such a big subject as well, actually. It was instantly quite a big subject, and lots to go and learn. So if I just switch to my screen sharing, which should be that, then a lot of this comes from Benjamin's excellent blog post here about deploying a LoRaWAN network server on Azure. So we've got an Azure virtual machine essentially running there, and we've got a Things Network stack deployed onto that. And then what we've been doing is getting these sensors here that you can see in small. So I've got a motion sensor and a temperature and humidity sensor and a gateway. And we've provisioned those onto the Azure stack after a bit of to and froing and realizing that we needed device keys and things like that. And once we got that up and running, then we were able to then use webhooks to be able to send out data from that stack up to an Azure function, and that Azure function then populates data into an Azure Digital Twins instance that we're able to then surface that data using the Azure Digital Twins Explorer tool. And at the end of last week, we managed to get my temperature and humidity sensor populated into that. And there was a bit of to and froing with that while we figured out how to get the data to come out properly, because there were some fields that we'd not modelled that it was sending. So we got that far, and then in between these two shows, and by that I mean about an hour ago, I got my motion sensor set up so that is now sending data through that Azure function and to Digital Twins, and we can see that. Yes, absolutely do, as Benjamin's just put in the chat there, absolutely do ask as many questions as you like in there. This will be a slightly shorter show. We're only going to do an hour today. I may carry on if we're right in the middle of something and I've got some clue what I'm doing. So I might carry on a little bit longer, but for the most part, Benjamin and Cliff have both got other things that they need to get off with in an hour's time, so less than that now. So we'll try and zoom through this a little bit, but I am aware that the whole point of this show is to show the real world process in making this whole end-to-end solution, so I don't want to rush it. But the plan, I think, Benjamin, is that this is the last one, isn't it? That's at least the plan. I know we've not spoken offline about this even. But Blender is the plan today, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, the sky is the limit. So maybe we come up with more ideas after this one. But yeah, we started with connecting the devices, have them send data to the cloud, and then sort of federate all the sensor data into the Digital Twins graph. And now that we have digitized the whole thing, we want to make something cool out of it, and we're going to make write some queries to extract data from the Digital Twins graph and visualize it in Blender, which is, for those who don't know, an open source 3D modeling environment. But I think we were chatting, I don't remember whether we were on air or not at the time, but I think we were last week. Another option could be maybe use Unity as another environment / framework for data visualization, and probably it might allow actually even more in terms of interactions. So that could be an option. I think I have on my list, and maybe we should do it live in in another session, I have it on my list to experiment a bit with something that's called Azure Spatial Encores, which essentially is a service that allows to store in the cloud in Azure in your own, as always with Azure, I guess, in your own environment, in your own isolated island on Azure, you can store what's called spatial encores, which is essentially giving a fingerprint, a unique, unique universal ID to any point in the world, right? And have use for example, a phone or a VR headset, sensor and camera to scan the environment, collect just enough information to be fairly confident that you've uniquely identified a given location, a given point in a room, in a forest, in a gold mine, anything really, and then you give that point a unique ID. And once you have this unique ID, and which can essentially start augmenting your digital twin environment and your digital twin graph, you can start being like, hey, this particular sensor should be somehow linked, attached to, related to this particular spatial encores. And you establish this relationship. And maybe later on, when it's time to visualize the data, you have some random person walking in the gold mine or walking in the room with their HoloLens or their Oculus Rift headset on, and you can start being like, okay, I'm here in the real world. I'm here. I'm 2 meters away from this particular spatial anchor. Is there somewhere in the digital twins graph a sensor that is somehow related to this spatial anchor? Yes, there is. How about we overlay the data coming out of this sensor like straight in the face of the person, right? Because we have the information. So yeah, we should do that, right?
Oh, yeah.
That should be another show.
So what you're saying is like the blender thing where you have the temperature floating in the middle of the room in the 3D model, actually have that temperature floating in the middle of the room. So as someone walks in there, they can see, well, that's the temperature and you know the heating is still on, that sort of thing, as they walk into the room.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Cool. Or and it could also be like, depending, I guess, on who is involved in this particular system and solution. Another kind of interaction would be almost the other way around. I have my HoloLens or my VR headset on. I walk close to an actual sensor, and then I use my HoloLens to actually establish and create the spatial anchor in the first place, right? So that later on, whenever someone walks by, we have established this relationship, right? So it, and I mean, of course, there all the APIs to either create spatial anchors or query spatial anchors, they are there, and there's like an SDK for Android and for HoloLens, of course. So maybe we should be playing around.
Agree, definitely that.
A bit.
That sounds awesome.
Definitely. I'm excited about that.
And obviously you'll need to arrange to ship me and Cliff a HoloLens. I mean, that goes without saying. So
yes,
yeah,
obviously, yeah.
me first, right? But then yes.
Sure. But on top of that as well, I've been doing a bit of work with Unity recently, and you may have seen that on the show we did on Tuesday night, where I've got a robot arm in a Unity app, and I've got Signal R hooked up to that, to a website in Azure, an Azure web app sitting there, and it's got a Signal R hub sitting in that. So I'm not using the Signal R service, I'm just using a hub in a web app, and I've got a Raspberry Pi with a robot arm down here, and I'm able to control both the real one and the in-app one, both in the app and outside of the app. But obviously once you've got the wherewithal to be able to start programming against NuGet packages and SDKs in particular, then there's no reason why we can't bring that information into a Unity app just the same. So it'd be cool to be able to play with that, and that is kit that me and Cliff have got. So But as I don't know if you saw on that, if I flick back to my screen share down there, if I scroll down a little bit, then it mentions down here that it's ARKit and ARCore enabled as well. So we can use our Android devices or our Apple devices to be able to visualize that. It's not as cool as HoloLens, obviously, but that would give us the wherewithal to be able to look at that. And I'm guessing we could do that in Xamarin, don't you think there, Cliff?
You can do it in Xamarin. There is Xamarin bindings for. I can put my mobile developer hat on now. I need one for the bald head. But yeah, you could use the mobile bindings for both the ARKit and ARCore parts. It's all there within part of the Xamarin stack, so it's all in there and good to play with. In fact, I've forgotten his name, but he's just released a book for the iOS version of doing it. He's a UK MVP, Lee Engelston.
Yes, he's awesome. Yeah, Lee's really cool.
He's if you go onto his blog, you'll see some of his amazing things he's done with ARCore. Yeah, no, ARKit, isn't it? Is the iOS one. I keep getting back front.
Yeah.
He's just released a book, which is on my Amazon list to buy. Because it looks amazing what he's managed to do with just an iOS device and his laptop and some Xamarin and C#. It's all written in .NET, and he's got an iOS device, sort of, seeing things. Benjamin seems to have disappeared.
Oh no, he's come back.
So,
he's come back.
Slightly less pixelated, right? But still a bit.
Yeah, slightly.
Sorry,
I don't know. Are you
giving
using?
you guys a heads up, but
that's all right. Benjamin, are you using OBS to go into OBS Ninja? Are you using a virtual cam or something?
Yes.
That might be the reason
works.
then. It should do. I mean, Cliff and I are both going direct, just straight to the URL and enabling the webcam in there. So that might be the reason. And I think when Olivier was doing it, he was using OBS and his audio was all out of sync as well, which was a little bit off-putting for the first couple of minutes. But that might be a possibility, is that there's some correlation between those two. But you didn't come here for an OBS show. You came here to learn a little bit more about digital twins and things like that. So I was going to quickly see if I could load this onto the screen. Hold on a minute and show you the... let's see, I'll put this down here. Show you my little robot thing that we're talking about. So I've got in the app there, I can drag these sliders around and it moves the in-app robot arm. And then on the left... is a website that I can go to, and I can drag those sliders in the website and it moves the sliders and the robot arm in the app, which when I got that working I did let out a little whoop, because that was pretty cool. And I'm not a Unity developer. I kind of just grabbed lots of other people's code and made it work with what I wanted to do. But yeah, that was quite powerful being able to do that, though, because obviously there's some real world implications for this. And I know Cliff's mentioned, robotic surgeries and bomb disposal equipment and stuff like that. There's real world reasons why this is a useful thing to go and explore how to do, not only because it's cool. So yeah, so that's what that is. Is my screen share still there? Looks like that disappeared for you lot, but yeah, I think OBS Ninja's having a bit of a mare these last few days. So that's something that we're going to save for another show. So if we can bring some digital twin stuff into an app like that, then that would be cool to go and explore that too, and show the power of what you can do with that. So that was Spatial Anchors, what we've got there. So what we're going to do today, though, is have a look at Blender here, which is really going to tax my PC. So I've not even loaded Blender. I probably should have loaded that before I came on this stream. But I mean, Benjamin, do you want to talk about what it is we're going to do at this point while I'm loading Blender?
Sure. So yeah, Blender is this open source software that's been around forever. Like I'm just realizing that I think I've known Blender, literally forever. And I remember trying to use Blender back when the UX was really bad. Well, it still is actually, but it's a really complex and huge piece of software. But yeah, I think it's been around since the late 90s, maybe even mid 90s. It's like a huge environment for doing all things 3D, but also 2D, actually, video, CGI, so all the way from modeling and like creating the meshes and so on, doing all the rendering, ray tracing, animation, rigging for like when you care about like animating characters and so on, compositing / video editing. You can actually get pretty far in terms of doing Adobe After Effects like kind of stuff with Blender, and probably more. It's all open source, like Cliff mentioned in the chat. I think, the core developers and inventors originally they're from the Netherlands, but nowadays the community is huge. Like if you look at the numbers, it's crazy. It's like literally millions of users, millions of downloads every month, and it's portable, right? It's Windows, Linux, Mac OS. The core of the system is some hardcore C++ and GPU stuff, but then a lot of the UI, a lot of the extensions, the plugins, it's done through Python, right? So there is a like all the core functionality is exposed through Python, and all the extensions that people may be interested in implementing, either in the form of UI extensions. I don't know, like I have an extension, for example, in my Blender environment, which adds the functionality to export, and this will be familiar to both of you guys, and probably people on the show as well, to export Blender 3D models in the form of STL files for 3D printing, right? So that would be, there you go. So that would be the kind of extension that someone may be interested in installing in Blender proper, like just like you would install an extension in VS Code, you would install an extension in your environment. But the extensions, or like the Python snippets and the Python code, can also live in your actual projects, in your actual 3D models. Like when you want to script your actual design file, your actual model, you can do that as well. Like implement some kind of interactions, implement some magic so that a particular object in your 3D environment gets some of its properties, derives some of its properties from other pieces of the environment. Like these are the kind of things that can, like you can essentially add as many Python files and as many behaviors, if you will, to your Blender model. So that's what we're actually going to do today. Taking Blender for what it's great at, which is like designing all sorts of cool 3D thingies. So we've started to look at a use case around building management. So we're going to model or reuse an existing model of a building with like the rooms and the different floors, etc. We're going to be able to visualize that in Blender, but then we're going to use Python and the Azure Digital Twins Python API to instrument and to extend the 3D model with some behavior being getting data straight from the Azure Digital Twins fire hose, I would say, and use the data to be like, oh, I have a twin in my system. I have a twin that corresponds to a sensor. It turns out that this twin is linked to the twin of a room. Is the room something that exists in the 3D model? If yes, then that twin of the sensor that I just retrieved, which happens to be linked to the room, I might as well use the information that I can find in that twin to display some data and to overlay some data on the 3D model. So that's what we're going to do. And the model, the Blender, the starting point, it's in the GitHub repo that we've been going through for the past few weeks. So you don't have to create the model from scratch, although you could. That could be a good exercise to get familiar with Blender and all the crazy shortcuts and all the crazy bits and pieces in the Blender UI. But yeah, we're going to start with an existing model, and there's already like most of the Python code is there already, but we probably have some time to hack around. So yeah,
sounds good to me. So I've got Blender on the screen here, and I've navigated my way into Benjamin's repo. By the way, let me just put a link to Benjamin's repo in the chat there. So I cloned this onto my machine, and then I've loaded Blender up here, and I've gone into the Blender integration directory, and I'm going to load this building.blend, I'm assuming, Benjamin.
Maybe, and we didn't get a chance to catch up before, so I don't know how well you did your homework. Can you switch back to the GitHub instructions and the README? Because there is one first prerequisite, which is we will first need, I'm guessing it's probably step one there. Or what is it? It's step one. I have no idea whether you did that. Yes, that's important, and that makes sense, right? Out of the box, Blender would allow us to write Python. Out of the box, it would allow us to write Python and to use whatever built-in modules and libraries are part of Blender proper, like the APIs for manipulating the 3D objects, maybe some APIs to do some trigonometry and some like 3D maths, but modules and APIs for Azure Digital Twins, it's quite unlikely that it's part of Blender out of the box. So we need to install those, and hopefully, and this will be a good way to check that the instructions work, but hopefully it should be as simple as opening a command prompt and navigate your way to the Python/bin folder within your Blender install, and then we're going to install the Azure Digital Twins APIs, Python APIs, or Python.
So this is what I've
libraries.
got as far as my.
Yeah, so in 292, I think under there, like in the 292 folder.
292 is a new one, isn't it? It's only been out. It's fairly recent, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It's
That's,
like from last week or something.
That's when I
was downloading it. Yeah, well, I was just saying that.
Yeah, I think they release more or less every other month.
Yeah.
I'm tempted to say, but it's like 91, 92. It's like on paper it looks like a minor revision, but when you look at the changelog, it's insane. Yeah,
such an active community. It's unreal. But and like you're saying, there's handy to hands, and that's all done in Blender, all built and designed in Blender. So you can do some pretty impressive stuff.
I mean, that's looking. That looks very much like a Linux type.
You need to go to bin first, because I think there is under there is.
Yeah, actually, it does say that.
Just read the.
No.
Main
Why would I do that? That's just wasting my own time. I'd rather you tell me what to do. Quite right, though. Let's have a look. Let's see if that works now. No. So, I mean.
Have you got Python installed, Pete?
Yeah, it's make it python.exe, and that should do.
Yeah.
It's the dot it's complaining about.
We'll make it a backslash then.
Yeah.
No, just
that.
Just take the first bit off, the dot and slash.
Oh, I got Python installed anyway. It's looking for Python in the previous directory, I guess, anyway, isn't it? But
yeah, but it's actually on purpose that it should be looking on the. We should like actually force it to use Python from this particular folder.
Yeah.
But my guess is that you should be using
elevated command prompt.
Yeah,
as well.
let's make sure.
Yeah, you just need to take the slash off, and then it'll use Python, which will be in your.
Yeah, but like it should be // python.exe. That should work.
It does, and that's exactly what Benjamin said. Put a backslash, so I did, and it works.
Yeah, because we really want to use the actual Python install that is part of the folder we're in. Otherwise, it will end up complaining like it did before, and or installing stuff in wrong locations. And did you, because I cannot really read the red error message, but did you make sure to run this particular CMD shell as admin?
No, I've just done that now. So I can...
Read the manual bit, read the instructions.
He's a bloke like the rest of us, and we tend not to read manuals. We just crash in, don't we?
Yeah. What I did, because I didn't know where my Blender was installed, I just used the properties here and went straight to it, and then did CMD from the from the command line there, and
Gotcha.
that's what happened. So anyway, if I just copy this, they need to fix this, being able to copy from rather than Control and M and marking and all of that. We don't want that.
Well, nobody uses this terminal anymore.
Yeah.
You're aware of
I
it.
I don't use that one. No, I use the Windows terminal.
Yeah, this one. Yeah, that one. That's right. You should be using that. But in fact, I'm not sure you can type terminal into the command line either. So, right, and this. I'm gonna take this one. Look, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You can change what CMD opens. Though you can get CMD to open the Windows terminal.
Yeah.
As opposed to the
I need to do that then. Yeah. I don't spend much time in command prompt or terminal really. I'm
in it all day, every day.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What are you doing in there?
I do all my get stuff from the command line. Some of the tooling I use for IoTea stuff I do from the command line because it's only available there. Mm-hmm. I'm in it all the time.
I do a .NET run and a .NET build maybe. That's about all the Git stuff I do with VS Code. Yeah. I don't want to remember all of that terminology. I just want to click buttons in VS Code and do it.
No, I do it all from the command line, and then there's all the Xamarin stuff as well. You can do a lot of stuff from the command line there as well, which you can do in Visual Studio, but I just prefer to sort of control it myself rather than push a magic button and hope for the best.
There we go. So this is cool.
And you can, I'm trying to think. Yeah, you probably don't need to restart Blender. I would restart Blender, maybe. You can already close it, and as soon as this is finished, we can reopen it.
Yep. So that Python script, Azure Digital Twins one, is that something you've created, Benjamin? Is that something that was created by the Microsoft IoT team?
Yeah, what we just installed, it's the official pip Python package for Azure Digital Twins. So it's one of the official SDKs for ADT. We could, if we were interested in integrating IoT Hub directly into Blender for some reason, we could just install the equivalent, like there is a similar package for doing IoT Hub stuff, or we could install the pip package for doing blob storage thingy, or a Spatial Encores. That would be also something that we could do. Although I'm not quite sure there is a Python SDK for Spatial
it's not
Encores.
It's not edited to work with Blender. It's just the bog standards. Python.
Yep. Yeah. It's just worked. Yes. And to my surprise, actually, but yeah, it took me, I think, an hour between me being at the exact stage we're at, which is trying to install the ADT SDK, figuring out that it just worked out of the box, and then writing my couple lines of code within Blender, within my 3D project, essentially doing lots of copy pasting from the ADT Python Hello World, and it just worked. So that's no tweak at all. It just works. Even including, remember that conversation we had last week around the fact that with the JavaScript, pretty much all the Azure SDKs for JavaScript, including the ADT SDK, there is this nice shortcut for getting the Azure credentials from the environment, whether the credentials are in an env variable or anything really. There is the equivalent for Python, and that too just works. In just one line of Python, you can be like, hey, let's get my current Azure credentials, and let's use those credentials to do the rest of the to execute the rest of the program, and that also works in the Blender context. So that makes for pretty lean and pretty straightforward.
Yes, it's
code.
a bit more complicated than. Oh, this is a bit easier rather than the Unity version of this. Unity's using like a .NET Standard 2 mono type distribution of .NET, and getting .NET packages, because it's going to use NuGet packages, essentially getting them into Unity is a little bit more complicated. I mean, you can go and download, for instance, I was fiddling with the SignalR one, you can go and download the SignalR NuGet package. Great, you get some DLLs in there. Actually, you get 3 folders of different DLLs. You've got the .NET Standard 2, the .NET Standard 2.1, and the full fat .NET Core versions. So you need to choose the .NET Standard 2 one, DLL, copy that in there, but that DLL has got requirements of its own that you need, and so you then have to go into the directory and run the NuGet command and install that, and that'll pull down all the requirements, but it'll do the same thing. They'll all be in individual directories, so then you've got to copy each one of those out manually, and it took me a little while to figure that out.
The way to get around that, Pete, is to pop out your because I've been doing it with the kids a bit of Unity, is pop out to Visual Studio and do it all there, and then let the Visual Studio tooling manage it for you rather than Unity.
But does it separate everything? Because it wants all of those DLLs to be in a single flat file structure, as far as I could work out. It doesn't want them in folders. It wouldn't have it for me when I did that. It just failed.
We just got the NuGet manager to just pull down the files we wanted, so we didn't have any issues.
Yeah, it did for me. I just did a NuGet install, which should do the same thing as the package manager, but it pulls down, a folder for signalr.client.dll, another folder for something else, another folder for something else. It was a massive pain in the behind, that was. So
I know we struggled at first with doing it within Unity, so we popped out and just had Visual Studio. Rather than using my son's laptop, we grabbed mine because I had it all installed, and we just did it on there, and it just magically worked. So we just use Visual Studio now.
All right, well, maybe that's what it is. I don't go in Visual Studio very often anymore, funnily enough.
Yeah, so but I know Unity are looking to move up to. They were going to go to .NET Core, but they're now going to move. They're going to skip Net 5 and go to Net 6, is what I read the other week.
Oh, okay.
When I was looking at some stuff. So they were going to go to the Core, but they're just going to skip it now and go straight to Net 6. Which would be kind of cool. So it'd be kind of the up-to-date stuff, which means I suppose those problems will disappear.
Hopefully, yeah, it'll just manage itself. Look at me. Yeah. Look, I'm reading the instructions. And the next one says launch Blender.
Was reading the instructions now. Yep, number 2 should be good, right? It should be pretty straightforward.
I don't want to do that, and you go, you didn't read it. You needed to do 16 commands first. But we have got some variables to update in a script once that's loaded. So. Yeah. And now I've got to wait. My PC is going to go really slow. I mean, I'm doing quite a lot with this one PC here. I've got 2 PCs handling this whole stream, and this one is already at 100% before I even loaded Blender. So it's catching up. It's fine. It won't burn itself to the ground. So we need to update the following variables in the script. We'll zoom in a little bit to see part of that. So replace the ADT endpoint URL with the actual URI of our ADT endpoint. Which we can actually get, if I can get it to come out of that, thank you. I can actually get that from my ADT Explorer, because that's sitting there in the settings up here, or somewhere. Where is it? It's ADT URL just there. So I can copy that one. Save me going to the portal and navigating around the loop to do that. So in the environment variables here, so that's my ADT instance. Paste that one. Next is that's fine. Replace the building twin ID with the ID we gave to the building twin you created earlier, building 001.
Yours is Pete's something. Yeah, Pete's house.
Hold on. There we are. That's what we want. What did I call it? Build. Does it not give you the ID in there?
You're looking at the meta model. You're looking at the description of what a building entity should be looking like. If you care about an actual twin, an actual instance, that's what you see on the right hand side in the Property Explorer. As soon as you select Pete's house.
Oh, I see in there. Yeah, quite right. Yeah, that's it. So, do I need to double click that? Oh, 10%. It's an hour a percent, by the way. So, Pete's House 1. Yeah, so that's what that is. So, I can't copy that, so I'll have to literally type it in Pete's House _1. Something like that. And we'll double check Pete's House _1. So that's fine. And then what do you say next? You say use the Alt-P shortcut or press the play button in the text editor to start executing the script. Really? We're already at that point, are we?
Did I say that? Yes. Yeah, well, one thing that will not work, though, is, and maybe this is something that I either we skipped in the instructions or that I should have code last week, is I don't think I mean, I'm sure you haven't labeled your rooms twins, living room, bathroom, kitchen, bedroom, and like I'm expecting in the model. So the like you can run the script, but it will not, like, there's no Pete's office or Pete's kitchen in the 3D model. So we should either update the twin model or update the 3D project and the 3D.
I think update the elements in Blender would probably be better, wouldn't it?
Yeah. So maybe we should run through the code then and get to the point where we feel like it's going to fail. So yeah, there is the line 9 is interesting because there is this default Azure credential thingy, which I was talking about earlier. So we set up the like we try and find credentials in on the machine, then we use those to create an Azure Digital Twins client connected to our ADT endpoint based on the URI we've configured earlier, and then we want to do some queries, and the query is looking very much like SQL, and I think the comment is actually pretty straightforward there. The comment on line 13, it's a query where we start and look, I guess if we look at the very end of the query, it starts by trying to find a building that has as its ID, whatever is the ID we configured earlier, so Pete's building or Pete's house, and then we essentially join the building with to all the rooms that it may be connected to through the contains relationship in the graph. And then same, we navigate one step further, one hop further. We try and see for all those rooms whether their contains relationship is giving us some sensors, and sensors of type Dragino. So that probably won't work, right? We want to update the query so that it actually tries and fetch sensors that are of type whatever, LoRaWAN, blah, blah, blah. We should update that, right?
Yep. So we've got these two, this LoRaWAN TBHH102. Everything's gone a bit laggy.
You can probably copy that line, can't you? You can probably just copy that ID.
Yep.
You think that, but I can't actually do anything in there, which is quite frustrating. But I can if I wanted to. Yeah, it wouldn't let me do any selecting.
We did it I'm pretty sure we did it last week, though, didn't we?
Yeah. You should be. I mean, it's again on your left-hand side. If you close the model info on the left-hand side, but below the sensors, it's written there as well. So can you not copy it there?
No, can't do any of that.
The DTMI com LoRaWAN.
No, that's me dragging across, getting no result. But what I can do, I guess, it might give me that if I double-click on this. It might give me it over here as well somewhere. There, look. So that I still can't select. So there's not even a copy look in my or select all of anything. So that's rather frustrating. But what I can do is I've got down here, if I open this up and pull that down, and for some reason my screen sharing has gone really laggy, so it'll be okay, it's fine. So this is my TBMS and my TBHH definitions here, the digital twin definition for those two sensors, and I definitely can copy that lot. Look, so
Great.
really the only part I need is that brow and TBHH 100 to begin with, and what we'll just start with the temperature and humidity one, because that everything should
I was about to suggest that.
So if I go back then to Blender rather, then this is the part we need to change just here, so I'm going to replace that part, but we've also got a model of example and room. Yeah, so that should be probably Pete's office. I forget what it was. What I actually called it. What did I call it? It is. Oh no, it is room. So that's okay, isn't it? That one's fine. Oh, I can't hear you now for some reason.
Yep.
You got room comma 1. Yeah, that works.
Yeah. So that one's okay.
And so going down. So we've fixed the query, and this one. For those of you watching the live or watching the recording. If you follow the GitHub repo to the letter, then you won't have to change the query, because you will use the exact same sensor that I originally used to develop this kind of workshop. But then what we did in this series is we deliberately used a different sensor. So that's why we just updated what we just did on line 18. And so then the interesting bit is the function that starts and that's being defined at line 24, and that's the one that we should try. I think even if neither of you, I think, I've done any Blender code before, like me a month ago, essentially. But you should be able to figure out what's going on there. So it's a callback that is being called every 2 seconds or 5 seconds, and it's in charge of doing the graphical the refresh, right? And so what it does is it navigates the scene, and it tries and find a collection that's called labels, and for all the labels it finds, it clears whatever text it might be containing, right? So that's line 26, 27. And then it performs an Azure Digital Twins query using the SQL expression that we wrote before, right, at line 29. And then hopefully it gives us a few results, a few rows or twins, you call it how you want, a few items corresponding to the results of the query, and then we iterate on those results, and we're so we asked for all the rooms in Pete's house, and we asked for all the sensors attached to said rooms. So when we iterate over the results, we essentially get a list of rooms and sensors, right? And so we iterate on the list, and the room that we get it has an ID, right? And we try and find in the scene a label that's called ID of the room _ label, right? And typically, and originally in the 3D scene, I've hard-coded the red 3D label that we're seeing for on the left-hand side, and that says 22 Celsius, 22.62 Celsius. This is a label that's for which the ID in the Blender scene is living room _ label. And so and we don't have such a thing as a twin in your environment, Pete, that's called living room, right? So you need to navigate on the upper right side of the Blender UI. You can see that quite conveniently there is something that's called collection, right? And so this is the collection and the tree view containing all the objects, the graphical elements. And I was actually referring to the one
above it.
Oh, here.
Yes, I guess both will work, but yes.
I-
Yes. So in there should be a collection that's called labels, probably at the very bottom.
Oh, here. Yep. Can I make this a bit bigger? I make that one a bit smaller over there.
And just to double click on what I just said before, try and hide with the little eye icon. You can hide the living room label, and we will immediately see what I was saying earlier. Like if you hide the living room label 3D element, then we should not see the 2262 anymore.
Yep, that's working.
Right. So we need to rename those, right? We need to rename those to make sure that they match what you have in your graph, if that makes sense, right? So don't remember, one is Pete's. Maybe you rename kitchen into Pete's kitchen, and yeah.
Let's have a look. What did I do?
Yeah, let's pretend this is that's a comfy office, right?
Yep.
Couch, TV, that's good.
Yeah, so Pete's Kitchen and Pete's Kitchen 1, in fact, and Pete's Office 1.
Yes.
So those what I need to call that exactly.
Yes.
So Pete's Kitchen. Did I do _1? I did.
_1, yeah.
And do I need to leave _ label then after that?
Yes.
Yep.
Let's make it short.
Line 32 of the Python code adds the _ label to make it match.
Cool. There we go. And so I'm happy with those two. Pete's Kitchen 1, Pete's Label 1. Pete's Office 1. Matches these
so
two.
you can now do the Alt P thingy, because I think we're all set now. We should be all set.
Okay. Maybe not. Python script failed. Check the system console.
For some reason, back to OBS Ninja, for some reason, your screen is super pixelated and it's coming late too.
It is. My PC is now doing too much. I mean, just to backfill there a little bit, I've been trying to use my phone recently for doing all of the webcam-y stuff, which takes the load away from this PC, because OBS Ninja, which is what we use, takes all of my computer cycles to be able to just put stuff on the screen, which is ridiculous. It is something that we're looking at fixing, perhaps with something like StreamYard or Restream or something like that. But those both cost money, and so that's why we're not using them at the moment. But if you want to sponsor us, of course, the Azure-ish Twitch channel, Azure-ish Live, has a Patreon, so you can absolutely go and sponsor us on there to help us move towards using some better technology. But we are where we are. So yeah, you're right. It's laggy for you and stuff like that. But it might help pixelated. You can actually, if you press the full screen icon in OBS Ninja there, then it should switch to an HQ mode, and you should get a slightly better version of it. You just won't be able to see me and Cliff, but it might help you to do that a little bit. Yeah, so that's what that's there for. So just leave it on the screen and it should depixelate after a while. Whether it'll speed up or not is another thing. So I've done that, but it's complaining, and I need to have a look at the console. System.console. So where have I put it? Hold on, I've got more than one window going on. At the moment, I've got this Blender info log, and it's telling me to check the message in the system console. So not entirely
the console would be so if you go back to Blender proper in the menu,
I've got it.
Where
Okay.
There you go.
And I'll zoom in for your benefit there as well.
Name as is not defined. Interesting. What line is it complaining about?
Line 8 in demo PY. So it's probably me. I've probably done something wrong.
Yeah, either you missed. Because I remember line 9 was the line where was the Azure credential.
What is that? Where did that come from? That's why.
Yeah, that's no valid Python code.
Are you sure?
well, it could be.
Right, so Alt P is doing something.
It's probably working good well, I mean, at least we got to the point where it cleared the labels, right? Because and then what is it saying? Is it complaining about authentication?
Yes, it is. Get token failed environment credential. So do I need to do an Azure AZ login or something?
Let me see on my side, because I think it might not be necessarily a problem that it is complaining. Because remember, it does this thing where it tries, like in a sequence, it tries first to authenticate using, say, a number variable, and then it tries with VS Code credentials, etc. And so it might be that the stuff at the top of the list fails, and then maybe and eventually works. So I just want to check on my in my logs on my side. Let's see, system console. Yeah, on my side, it fails. It says environment credentials fail, managed identity credential fails, shared token cache credential fails. What does it say for you?
I don't get the shared token one, but I get the other two.
Yeah, I would assume that we're connected. So we will need to add some traces to figure out what's going on. Whether we messed up with maybe we just simply messed up with the query, and so it happens to be working. It's just that the query is not returning anything, or it's there is a bigger problem.
How about copying that query out of the query?
I was about to suggest
drop it into
Yep.
Azure Digital Twins. Just check that it works and return something.
Yeah, you can just stop at the equal sign on line 22, and then you will type manually the Pete's house thing.
Look at that, it's horrible. I don't know if that's going to work.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, the multi-line might be an issue. No, that should be fine. So you just make sure to add the single quoted.
Single quotes. That.
And it will fail. You should enable the console. It's not able to display something visually because it's not returning a graph. So you should enable in the settings. You should enable the Explorer console. You were there earlier, right? Like next to where,
I've got it. Yep.
Both the console and the output. I never know which one is which. I think it's the output that we want to enable. And then we should see the query result there.
So that's. So I'm just going to hang on a minute. Just going to pull this up a little bit more, and I will zoom in. It is annoying. I don't know why the OBS thing is being so slow. I can see that you're that it's slow for you on there as well. It's in real time for everybody on the Twitch stream. It's almost probably faster for you to look at the blooming Twitch stream than it is for you to look at the OBS Ninja screen share, which it seems to be about 6.5 days behind the OBS Ninja one, but the one in Twitch is probably bang up to date. So I've just zoomed in a little bit, and we ran the query for Twins page 1, query charge, blah, 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 blah.
And it returns nothing, right?
Well, it's not giving us anything else other than that. So the value is just an object by the looks of it. Without
so we need to double check the LoRaWAN thingy, because maybe there was a copy-paste error there. Maybe we should double check the that the room, the DTMI for the room is indeed exactly DTMI example room 1, because this might also be an issue.
Cool. Let's have a look.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
So I'm just going to drag this back down again because I've got no real estate whatsoever. So I probably need to. Can I Control Z all of that? Yes, I can. Let's just rerun that. And that's cool. So we've got the Pete's office is one of them, isn't it? Of these rooms anyway, so we can see that. room 1. So DTMI example room 1 for my office at least.
Yeah, okay.
That was
good.
right, which is fine. And then my BROWAN sensor, just double check that. We don't need this DTID because it's just going to find any BROWAN TBHH sensors. So it's just this DTMI part there, BROWAN : TBHH100, and the rest of it is the same. So I'm just going to go back to Blender for the query again, and we have BROWAN TBHH100. Funnily enough, it's just about as laggy in Twitch by the looks of it, switching between these things. Geez, I need to go and buy myself like one of these brand new self-build computers with a nice RTX 3090 graphics card and all those things.
Yeah, Ryzen CPU and everything else. Yeah, I want one of those as well.
Yeah, I might need to do that. Or Microsoft, your Surface Book 3 is fantastic, but it really doesn't handle this at all. Well, actually, it's probably more OBS Ninja at fault here than it is anything else. My whole link over to the Twitch thing is slowed right down now as well. So wonderful. Anyway, we're going to carry on anyway, rewardless. I can see in this query we're selecting a room and DTID sensor. Right, it's come across now finally. We are getting BROWAN : TBHH100 and then semicolon 2, which are the same. And hold on a minute though.
You got the example and in room. It's not called that in digital twins, is it? You got on line 19. You got DTMI : example : room. It's not called that in your digital twin, so that must be the problem there.
Is it not?
I think it is actually. No. Example : room. There it is. The model there. Look.
It's all so laggy here. I'm not sure which bit you're looking at.
No.
It's super laggy.
Jeez. I'm just going to... I don't know what to do about that. There's nothing much you can do. And now, accidentally I clicked on the Visual Studio icon. And so that's going to make things easy, isn't it? That's going to help. I'm just going to refresh the screen share in OBS Ninja and hope that fixes some of this problem for us, locally at least. Oh, jeez. So, I mean, I can see in Twitch that my screen share is still showing it's still showing Blender rather than ADT. Oh, what a mess. Never mind. It's fine. So it's the same. It's room. It's example room. So Benjamin's right. That's not changed. We're looking for is primitive sensor.temperature. I wonder, is that the problem? Is it because it's not .temperature? Is it that is it .temp or something?
Oh yeah. Yep. There. Yes.
Yeah. It's temp board actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
maybe try first in the Explorer to make sure that the query works, and then we'll.
Yep.
But that must be it. So you can also try directly in Blender. Your call.
Yep. Can you see my screen share now? That, by the way.
Or is it something? But.
Yep. So I'm just going to switch.
Well,
off.
Actually, not anymore in OBS Ninja now.
Well, it looks like it might have just about caught up. I'm going to switch to that. I'm going to switch to my... oh, no, not that. There we are. Let's see if I can turn off this. Oh, jeez. I thought that'd be faster, but it's not. All right, well, it's showing me something. I can't be bothered. Right, so I'm just going to run that query again. Can I control Y back? No, I can't. Oh, I can. So, sensor.temperature, that's the part there. That needs to be... that needs to be that board, temp board, that one. Run that query. Syntax error now. Primitive missing for properties temperature. It's here. No, it's me.
Yeah.
It's me. It's just...
Got it at the top as well.
Yeah, there's two places, yes. Yeah, I should have got that one.
Yep, that's my fault. Temp board, run query. Now we get a value out of it, Pete's Office 1. So that's probably it. That's what we need. So I'm just going to change this one and that one.
And I think your screen share is stuck on the stream.
It is. Hold on. Let's turn that off. and see if I can get my OBS Ninja version of that to work. But there's nothing coming out of that as well, so it's all going really well as far as that's concerned. Let me just go back to that. No, hold on. Yeah, it should be fine. Pete screen share, that should be there. All right, never mind. Just have a bit of a lag.
What are you displaying on your screen currently? Because at the moment we can see the Digital Twins Explorer.
Yeah, it's so the problem is that if I take, Benjamin was complaining about the screen share being really pixely in OBS Ninja. If I use that in the live stream, then everybody gets a really pixely screen share. So what I do is I use OBS on this machine and OBS on my streaming machine and use NDI between the two, and then you get a nice clear screen share for everybody. But for some reason, it's deciding that now's the moment in time that it's been fine for the last 3 weeks. It's been working perfectly fine. Now today, I think maybe somebody's downloading the internet in the other room or something, and maybe that's screwing up the network. So that's really
can't blame the kids now, mate. They're at school.
Yeah, exactly. What can I do? What's the best idea? I'm going to Alt P this and get this running anyway, and make sure that works while I fix this.
One thing with the Alt P, so you're rerunning the script. The thing is that I couldn't figure out how to kill an existing timer in Blender. So essentially, what you just did is there's now 2 threads in parallel that do update the Blender 3D environment. The one from before that will keep failing, and it will keep clearing the labels every 2 seconds, and then another one that more or less at the same time will do the right thing. So you will want to update the query in the 2 places that we spotted before, save the file, and then in the file menu in Blender, you can just revert to reload the file and make sure that we don't have any timer running anymore. I'll figure that out eventually, how to do that more in a more robust way. But
right, just give me 1 second. Then let me just fix. What time is it? Oh, it's 3 o'clock. So you need to go anyway, don't you? Yeah. Pair. So I'm gonna leave it here for now, I think. But I'm gonna leave Benjamin and Cliff to go because they've got to go no matter what. I'm gonna carry on. Actually, I'm gonna fix this screen share problem. I think what the problem is that my OBS screen share has disappeared, so I can't even screen share that anymore. And this isn't catching up very well either. So I'm going to carry on, and you can bear with me until I've got this actually running, but it should run. So what was that you said there? Just quickly before you go, Benjamin, you said to do that because I was trying to fix something. So
you just save the file with the changes you've just done to the query, and you make sure to reopen it. So either you use I think there is a menu, an entry in the file menu to revert and to reload the file, or you just close it, reopen it. Otherwise, you will have the old buggy refresh timer still running in parallel to the new one that hopefully fixes the thing. So they will all mess with one another, trying to update the labels. So you just want to reload the file for that not to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I've got the revert there as well. But I mean, is this load the whole blender.blend file is what you're talking about, rather than just the individual demo py file there? Because I don't appear to have a way of reverting the py file. But you're right, it's the blender one anyway, isn't it? So that's what I've done. I've reverted. So we'll see where that takes us.
Screen again. So
we'll see. So all right. Well, thank you very much indeed to Benjamin and Cliff for coming along. I'm just going to say I'm going to stay here, and I'm just going to fix my screen sharing issues live online, and then hopefully show you something running in Blender, which will sort of tidy up that section of this. So thank you very much to Benjamin and Cliff for all your help.
Make sure you tweet some pictures of it later, because I'll be on the school run, so I want to disappear and catch kids. So
no worries, I'll do that. Cool. Cool. All right.
Take
See you in
care,
a bit.
everyone. Bye.
Cheers.
And good luck, Pete.
Yes,
Cheers.
thanks.
Good luck, Pete. Thanks, Benjamin. Bye.
Bye.
So I'm still here, and I'll carry on. So obviously, feel free to shout in the chat if you got any useful hints about how to get OBS to work better. Actually, having Benjamin and Cliff disappearing probably means that the whole NDI thing will tidy itself up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close OBS on my side and reopen it, and that'll fix any issues there. But yeah, I mean, this has been a really great learning exercise for me because there's quite a lot of this that I've not spent a massive amount of time doing. Oh look, there we are. So that's fixed OBS. That appears to be working now. Or at least it's updated once. So it's doing something. So I was going to try Alt P again and just see what that does now. If anything. I don't even know if it's doing anything. Oh, it's doing something. Script run. Yeah, that's pretty speedy now. So probably all I needed to do was close OBS and load it again. So that's fine. It doesn't appear to be doing anything though. Tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to close Blender and and reopen it and just see what that does. Obviously, I mean, shout in the chat if there's anybody left now that isn't that frustrated with this. Shout in the chat if you've ever done any OBS, any digital twins stuff, or indeed Blender. It'd be interesting to know what people have done in there. There is one last occurrence of temperature you need to replace in the callback. Okay, that might be the problem then. So I'm just going to reopen this Blender file that's down here. Yeah, that's a lot faster now. So yeah, there's one more temperature somewhere. Oh, here, look. Yeah, there we are. So that wants to be the same temperature that I had up here, which is temp board. That'd be the reason then. Well spotted, Benjamin. That'd be the reason. Thank you for checking in with that. So let's try an Alt P now and see what this does. This might still not work, so I might still need to restart it or something. And it's definitely Alt P, isn't it? That I needed to do. Yeah, Alt P. So, I mean, the answer to all our problems is I just don't have any co-hosts or help when I'm doing this. That would be horrible. Not something I intend to do. So, I'm assuming I'm supposed to be seeing some results in here. I wonder, does it need to get an update for it to appear? Or is it going to pull it, and will it pull the last one? I'm not entirely sure about that. I'm assuming that data is stored in the digital twin instance over here. So, I mean, I've got Pete's office as the result of that particular query. Query charge, blah, blah, blah. Let's just pull this back up again and zoom in, and we'll be able to follow along with what I'm doing. So it's a bit small. All I'm getting temp board, which is fine, and Pete's office. So that's kind of what we want out of that, I'm assuming, which is fine. But I think I'm expecting to see. I've not spelt something wrong, have I? I mean, the query's right because I've just ran the query, so it must be. Oh, room temperature. Where's it getting that from? And what's that? I wonder what that's doing there. Oh, it must be getting that from somewhere. Room temperature. Is it part of this? Oh, don't do that. That find and replace is really, really good. It just doesn't do anything. It's there, look. Is it trying to find the exact match or something? I would double check that you properly saved the changes you made to the local label names earlier. Oh yeah, that's a good point. Down here, labels. Pete's Office 1, Pete's Kitchen 1. So they both appear to be saved, and I've closed since I've closed blend and reopened it. So that's reloaded these. So they definitely got changed. How do you close these little windows that appear? I don't want that. It's quite frustrating. Let's pull that off to the side. What else? So, oh, Where's it getting these room ID, room label, and room temperature from? I'd like to know. Item inquiry result. Room ID equals that. Room label equals that. And room temperature equals that. So, is it getting those from somewhere on here, or doesn't look like it? So it's just so that's just making it. So no, okay. Brain fade. Yeah. So item is the DTID. Room label is the room ID and the underscore label, which is what it was. So Pete's Office _1, which is what we were getting out of our digital twins. Pete's, so that DTID equals Pete's Office _1 is what we're doing, kind of up there, isn't it? If room label that, so Pete's Office _1 label in BPY, yeah, dot data, Blender Python, I'm guessing, dot data dot objects. Then we want the python.data.objects room label.data.body. Do we get, out of interest, if we do the system console, do we get, hold on. Right, let's kind of, if I look at the system console, then text not found room temp. So that's what it's complaining about, is this room temp thing. So where's that coming out from? Is that in this? Room temp. That's the problem. It's looking for something else. I wish that find and replace would work. That would be quite nice. In that I could... Oh, is that... Oh, no. That's probably what it is. It's just complaining in the system console about the fact that I can't search for room temp. Text not found. Oh, okay. Throw me off. Although, we do have different errors in here as well now. The account needs to be added as an external user in the tenant first. Visual Studio Code credential. Azure Active Directory invalid. Grant user account email hidden from identity provider live.com does not exist in Microsoft.services. You can use print room temperature etc to add some traces, but it will show up in the Blender system console, which is I think what I'm looking at. But oh yeah, I've just minimized everything. That's what I wanted to do. So that'd be lovely to get rid of this. How do you get rid of that? That's really frustrating. Oh, do that. That's maybe that's what I needed to do. A little arrow now to pull it out. Learning about Blend while I'm doing this. Right. That's not the part. I think my problem is the authentication is not working. That's what I think's actually happening here. Where it's complaining that the it can't access the application blah 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 in that tenant. Probably need to do the login again on the CLI. So let's do that. So you can do it in here, I guess, from the bin directory maybe. AZ login. Just going to switch you off and do this myself out in the back. So I've logged into Azure now in there. So now, just to make life easier on myself, I'm going to quit Blender and reopen Blender again. And I'm going to save my changes and hope that I've not broken anything while I've been faffing trying to get it to work. You can't see what I'm doing. I'm just loading Blender back up again, but there's no point in you watching me do that. I'll get it all on the screen and then I'll share the screen again. So that's this. Let's pull this down onto the screen again. And then I can share my screen, and then we can load building.blend, which will load that up. And then Alt-P, I'm guessing. It would be nice to think that it would populate that automatically, but as it hasn't immediately done it, I'm going to get the console back up again. User account, environment credentials, environment authentication unavailable, variables, blah blah blah, shared token, blah blah blah, Azure Active Directory error. So it's the same thing. Can't access the application. Which, I mean, we, as part of this, we allow our user to be able to have access to Azure Digital Twins, and I've just logged in as me through the console there, so I don't see why that would be a problem. So yeah, not sure what that is. Quite frustrating. Tell you what, I wonder if the internet has got anything it can help me with for this. Let's have a look. Let's just do that bit. Let's see what Google's got to say about it. Don't think it'd be any of those. They look a bit too old. Don't know. That doesn't look right either. Although, you know, it's not far off. I mean, it is essentially a personal account that I'm logging into, and I've got several tenants, just like any Microsoft tenant there. So what is it? Is it trying to access the Azure Digital Twins service, and it can't access that? I wonder, is that what its problem is? Let's just pull this out a bit because it's making it a bit hard to read when it's all squished onto many lines. If I just make it like that. It does not exist in the tenant Microsoft services. It cannot access the application. It can't access Visual Studio Code in that tenant. Why is it trying to do that? Is it a code space it's trying to access or something? The account needs to be added as an external user in the tenant first. Sign out and sign in again with a different Azure Active Directory user account. I don't want to do that. I'm perfectly fine signed in as the user account that I expect to be signed in as. So, all right. So, if I search for that, it's not going to tell me, which is frustrating. Looks like it's using the credentials from VS Code, not the ones from AS. So maybe make sure that VS Code is logged in. Yeah, it's probably a good idea. So I've got the Azure. I can see all of my bits and bobs on there. There's no reason why that shouldn't be working. That's perfectly fine. I think I can do a Control P. No, Alt P. Control Alt P. What is it for the palette? Shift. Yeah, Shift. Control Shift P. And do Azure in here. Should be able to do an Azure login or something. IoT Hub. Sign in. There we are. I'll just sign in. I'll do that anyway. You're now signed in. So we are signed in. What else was there in there out of interest? I don't think that'll have done anything because I was already signed in. I'm going to select my subscription. This one. It's already selected, so that's fine. Okay to that. All right. I'm going to try Alt-P in here, and if that doesn't work, I'll try closing Blender again and opening it again. And now I don't know if that's... I don't think that's actually done anything for us because that's exactly the same information as was there before. So, all right, let's close Blender and start it again. I think this is what Benjamin was saying, this revert here after saving. It didn't do that for me before, interestingly. It didn't give me that prompt, or if it did, I missed it. So let's just try Alt P again and see if that does anything. I mean, this hasn't changed. This looks exactly the same to me. So unless it's repopulated... Oh, hold on. Is it just not letting me scroll? No. There it is, doing it over and over again, that exact same problem. Sign out and sign it in again. So can you sign out in VS Code and sign back in again? Is that possible? Sign out. Good. Let's do that. And then I'm going to close it. I'm going to open it back up again, just to be sure. And sign back in again. Oh, and this is what people have to do when they're trying to use Teams as well. The credentials are stored, aren't they? Because it looks like it's automatically going to start populating that without me even... Oh, no, it's not. No, here we go. It's just being slow. That's all. Let's try this again. It's good when it works straight away, and then annoying when it doesn't. Right, I am signed in now, it says. An error occurred while signing in. Well, that's... yeah. Even though it says I'm actually signed in. Okay. Well, I am signed in, because that's all of my bits and bobs. So that's what I would expect. So I'm actually going to close that, and I'm also going to close Blender again and save and reopen Blender again. Ugh. We're so nearly there. This is the frustrating part. Is that I think once we get that to work, then we're essentially done. So it'd be good if it just worked. That would be quite nice. Right. So Alt P. And we have the same problem. Does not exist in Microsoft services. What does it mean by that, I wonder? You try replacing the default Azure credential line with... oh yeah. This is very good of you to still help out, even though you're probably sat in a meeting, Benjamin, so thank you for that. Can you try replacing the default credential line with this? I just wanted to copy and paste the right thing. Exclude the Visual Studio Code. Yeah, that's a good idea. So this is right at the top up here. Credentials. So going to replace that with all of this lot. You can save that, and we can revert. And then Alt P. It's running. Oh look! No! It worked. We got 22 in there, and it didn't stop at that point, and we got 22. I mean, it wasn't doing that before, so I'm assuming that is it working. And in fact, what we can do is we can go back over to our ADT Explorer, and we should, if I can close these out, and I can do Control Z on all of this lot, and just go back to this and run that query. If we could have seen it from the query as well in the thing there, but I wanted to just check it in here. If I double click on this, we should get 22 as the temp board. So in fact, isn't it a case that we can like change it in here to 20 or something, and that should save that. If I save that like that, value of 20 as a patch, and then if I go back to here, theoretically that should update itself to 20 unless it's updated. Oh no, there we are, 20. There it is. It works. Ah, time for a beer. Ah, geez. Okay. So it was a credential problem for the most part. Yes, some of it was me not following instructions, but that was in the early days. It's fine. I've learned now. Credentials and just fiddling around with this to match your actual solution. and now we have that. And I mean, obviously, we have Pete's Kitchen, and so you can press space on your 3D views focused, and you'll get the nice animated label. So let's do that. Let's focus that and press space. And yeah, there we are. So that's it. Rotate. If I just zoom in, that's it. Doing the nice animation that Benjamin set up in there for our label. I mean, obviously, if we had this now in a Unity app on my VR headset, that'd be cool to be in that room and see a Dirty Great 20 floating around. Actually, I'm really, really happy that I got to that point. And I'm so thankful to Benjamin for that. I mean, there was that one line adding that, skipping the Visual Studio Code stuff. I'm just wondering I wonder if VS Code gets its own sort of login, sort of piggybacks on yours, maybe, that it's stopping it from getting access. I don't know. I can't imagine what that would be. Why it's doing that. I'm not entirely sure. But I mean, I'm assuming that because I've got a Pete's Kitchen and a Pete's Office, that in my digital twin here, that I can break the connection for the temperature sensor and move it to the kitchen, and it will appear in there. So this link here I can break. Here, look. Are you sure you want to do that? And then this temperature sensor will just disappear up there on its own. And then I can click Pete's Kitchen and Pete's Temp on there, and then link them, add a relationship, and contains. And so I've done that, and that automatically saves. I think I don't need to do anything at that point. And over here, it's actually disappeared from there. And look! Can I move around? Move the view. If I click it properly. Oh, there we are. Oh no! Ooh, well, there we are. Zoom in. I've moved my temperature sensor, and that was almost instantaneous. And I think this is polling every 5 seconds or something like that. And there we have our temperature sensors moved now. I've picked it up and I've walked into the kitchen and taken the temperature sensor with me. If I breathe on this now, like I made the joke about it being the world's most useless harmonica. We should get, there we are, 27, and we got the update because it had changed within a threshold in the sensor itself, and it forced it to send itself an update through quite quickly all the way through the system. So that had gone from the temperature sensor to the gateway, from the gateway to the Things Network Stack instance on Azure, from the Things Network Stack instance on Azure that had gone out through a webhook to an Azure function, and the Azure function had published that, inserted that information into the Azure Digital Twins instance, and then we've got this code running here in Blender that every 5 seconds is polling and querying the Azure Digital Twins instance and then updating that information live on screen in a 3D model, and I think that is pretty darned awesome. I'm impressed with that, and great work on producing all of this, Benjamin. It's fantastic, and I can only imagine the hours that you spent trying to get this to work, and probably not banging your head against the wall as much as I've been doing, but that's pretty impressive. I'm happy with that. And you see it's going down now. It's gone down from 27 to 25 on the side there. Yeah, that's... Can I zoom in a little bit? There we go. Woo! There you go. 25. So, yeah, that's cool. And I think with that, I think I'm gonna quit while I'm definitely ahead. I mean, we've got loads of other stuff planned that we could take with this. I mean, obviously, I mentioned the fact that we could use this Oculus headset here, the Quest 2, and do some Azure Digital Twin stuff. I don't know how much of this 3D model we can just take straight in. We probably need to export it from Blender and then import it as a model into Unity. I've already figured out, I mean, if Cliff's tip there about using Visual Studio directly helps with adding the SDKs, then that's definitely a good thing. So that's something we could look at. But this is going to be dependent on Benjamin's time, and it might be that we cool content presentation. Thank you, Pete. Oh yeah, and thank you, Dave, for coming along. It's really really cool to see you in the chat there. So yeah, thanks for that. It might be that we stop at this point and we bring Paul DiCarlo's content in with the NVIDIA stuff, and we come back to this then in a later show. I don't want to keep Paul DiCarlo hanging around too long, because he might turn around and say, I can't be bothered anymore, waited too long for you. I'm sure he wouldn't. But I also don't want to monopolise too much of Benjamin's time. It's very good of him to give his time up with us to spend banging his head against a brick wall telling me to read the instructions. But it has been mega, and I've really enjoyed that. And I thank you to everybody for coming along and watching as well. I really do hope that that you've enjoyed the content so far. Please do drop us a subscription here, and obviously likewise on YouTube as well. We've got a YouTube channel that you can go and subscribe to. And in fact, let me just get that for you. Oh, it was there. Look, it was even prompting me. I'll stick that in the chat, and drop us a like and a follow and a subscribe and all of those things that you're supposed to do in there for us, and we can go from there. But yeah, that's been fantastic. So with that, it's now 3:30, and thank you so much, and we'll catch you again on Tuesday at 9 p.m. GMT, where Cliff and I will go through the latest bits and bobs of IoT that we've discovered in the week. I might try and persuade another guest to come on. Actually, it was so good having Olivier on for that as well. So thanks to Olivier for coming on. Yeah, we'll catch you all next week. Well, there's Johnny Chips in conversation with tomorrow on the channel as well. If you're interested, definitely go and check that out. It's a fantastic series that he interviews people on there. So that'll be the next live content on the Twitch channel. So yeah, thanks so much, and we'll see you again soon.